do and go and do that. You, because before you know it, you're gonna be dead. Aren't you? And you know that I know that you know it's the truth. Come on, get up. Do you, please? Thank you. 3 lines on the shirt. On the shirt? Is it? No. 3 lines on the... No, it is the... 3 lines on the shirt. Shee-ba-da-bop-bee-ba-da-bop-bee-bee. That was quite a British-inspired song for quite a British-inspired guest, my friends. The guest on today's show is a young man, rather accomplished, although he will not admit it himself because he is too British to do so. He goes by the name of @ I will now put @ in the front of people's names because we are in a social media world. @ Nick CARVELL. Sorry, this accent's running out and it's probably not even convincing anyway. It's supposed to be an old British man. Someone kind of like Attenborough that didn't make it in the game but is still true to who he is. He's probably a gardener. But yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Do You? The podcast show with myself, Reuben Christian, presenter and comic based in East London. As I say in every show, if you are new, welcome to the family. We are a family of doers. The majority of people, well, I'd like to think that the majority of people that are listening to this show are inspired, uplifted, and go out and do stuff, man. So yeah, we're doers, and this show is all about conversations, very uncensored, free-form conversations with those people that are doing what they love in order really to keep me inspired and hopefully you guys inspired. That's the aim of the show, and as I said in my beautiful British accent, today's guest, or do I should say, is Nick CARVELL. He's the GQ Online fashion editor. So everything you see on GQ Online, for the most part, Nick would have seen it or he would have created it and pushed it out. He's also the main guy that kind of controls GQ's Instagram account. Before GQ Online Fashion Editor, he was working at Mr. Porter as a social media writer with my brother Aaron Christian. I met him at LCM a couple of times. I bumped into him in cabs. We've interviewed him on the street. Very well dressed, very well spoken, as you are about to find out. But even before that, Nick was a contributing writer at Esquire magazine. He's one of the guys that helped put together and contribute to the manual, which helped me get dressed back in the day. And talking of helping people get dressed, Nick also now is in front of camera a little bit more with GQ's YouTube content, teaching us how to tie scarves and all that kind of stuff. He's got the looks, he's got the charm, and he's got good spaces between sentences, which is needed. And I've always told people that have yet to meet Nick that what I believe he is I'll put it this way. If Britain was manifested, if Britain was personified, if Britain was turned into a human being with dick and balls, that's Nick CARVELL. He is Britain as a man to me. His dress sense, his sense of humour, his common courtesy. I brought him down to the attic and he was downstairs and he met my dad. My dad was in his vest and pants. Nick carried on as if he wasn't in his vest and pants and just carried on talking to him as if it was normal. Anyone else would have been like, Reuben, why am I here? Who is this man? But Nick didn't do that. He carried on talking and he has, like I said, his accent is beautiful, man. I met him, I'd say, about 3-4 years ago when Aaron was working at Mr. Porter. And since then, I've witnessed his rise, which he'd probably not call it a rise, but his progress within fashion and style. And so I kind of grilled him on his life and it was a lot of fun. Now, to check out more of these interviews, it's soundcloud.com/Reuben, REUBEN -Christian. And to follow me, it's ReubenChristian.com and all my social handles are /Reuben Christian other than Instagram, which is Reuben Christian 1. If you liked the interview, if you were entertained, if you were uplifted, or even if you were disgusted by mine or Nick's voice and or story, feel free to just forward it out to the world because there might be something someone can gain from one of these. I hope you guys keep doing. Here's my interview with Nick CARVELL. You can follow him on Twitter at Nick CARVELL. That's NickCarvell, and that's the same on Instagram. Again, that's at NickCarvell. CARVELL. Stay British, my people. Stay British. Yes.
Find out what you're here to do and go and do that. Because before you know it, you're gonna be dead.
Nick, what did you eat today? What was the last thing you put in your mouth?
Yeah, those are two different questions. The last thing I put in my mouth was coffee from you. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
Last thing I ate,
Yeah.
I actually haven't had lunch today, so it was breakfast. So I had mushrooms on toast at Noppi.
What's Noppi?
Noppi is it's one of Yotam Ottolenghi's restaurants just off Oxford Street.
Who?
Yotam Ottolenghi is a really famous like Middle Eastern inspired chef.
I'm really not cultured. What I eat is mum's cooking or my cooking.
Well, she's probably got one of his cookbooks downstairs.
You
Wouldn't
reckon?
be. Yeah.
And where was that
surprised.
based? In East London?
No, that's just off Oxford Street, so in the centre of town.
Okay.
Very nice. One of my favourites for a press breakfast if I get the option to have one, which it was this morning.
And it was mushrooms on toast.
Yeah.
Which is basically all you've had all day, bar my cup of coffee, which you've just had now.
Yeah, it was a busy day.
Are you on a diet?
No, and if I am, I'm clearly on a very bad one.
All right, that's my sound test done, which I'm very likely going to keep here. All right, so we are officially rolling Nick Carvell, fashion editor at GQ Online. What would you like to say to me? Yeah,
No pressure.
That's how these interviews go. Like I said, there's no structure whatsoever. Before I start, like, jumping in and being nosy about your life. Actually, let me start with a question. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm settling into life back in London after having spent like 2.5 weeks at the fashion shows abroad. So
Yeah, so that was the start to the year.
yes, and a
Yeah.
pretty intense one.
Yeah, and you said on the car on the way up, you have just basically started to get into the year. Does that happen every year for you?
Kind of. The funny thing when you're a fashion editor is, you go through Christmas and you get to New Year and everyone's making these New Year's resolutions about, I'm going to do a dry January, or I'm going to start going to the gym every morning.
Dry January as in not drinking?
As in not drinking.
Oh, okay, that means totally different things over here.
What do
I
you
had a
mean by dry
conversation with a
January?
girl about dry January.
Uh-huh. Which would be?
Her staying dry.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Okay.
So anyway, non-alcoholic January then, shall we say?
Yes, non-alcoholic. I like that.
But of course, as you know, in my career, you don't really get the option of that because you go straight into the shows, which
Yeah.
And this sounds like such. I can't believe I'm starting this with such a first world sounding problem.
Go on.
But it's like, you go to the Fashion Week is just full of events to go to, and of course with events come alcohol and come things like canapes, which are generally quite unhealthy food, despite being absolutely delicious. But it's like
great.
how can we make this piece of how can we make this risotto even worse for you? Oh, we can like deep fry it and make arancini and serve them at dinner at parties at Fashion Week. So you can't get any of the sort of, you don't end up getting fit because you're up, on these 14-hour days at the shows. And then they all like have alcohol at them. So it's generally a very unfit time of the year for me, the start of the year.
Yeah, so okay, so are you saying that whenever you do go out, you near enough always get drunk?
No, I didn't say I got drunk.
Ah.
That's very different. I said that most events you go to have alcohol present at them.
Okay.
I think it'd be incredibly unprofessional of me if I went out to loads of fashion events and got sloshed. I don't do that.
When was the last time you did get sloshed? You can, or you don't need to answer any of my questions, by the way. But
I'm trying to think. I'm
Yeah.
such an old pops these days. When was the last time I got drunk?
Okay, stop. If
Jeez.
you can't remember by now,
Yeah,
we
it's
should
been too long.
probably move on. Yeah.
I'm one of those people that I don't get drunk really ever because I don't like myself when I'm drunk.
Okay.
And I don't generally like other people when they're drunk. Especially people that cry. I can't stand people that cry when they're drunk. I don't mind happy drunks, they're fine.
Yeah.
Angry
drunks?
Angry drunks not a fan of. Pretty much only happy drunks I like.
Are you a happy drunk?
From
From what you remember? 'Cause it's been so long ago.
The problem is I'm a very sort of sensible drunk in the point of view that I can realise when I'm getting drunk and I cut it off.
Yeah.
I don't like that feeling of being sort of, the feeling of being out of control that comes with being drunk.
Okay.
So
So
I
you
make
like-
sure that I don't get that. And if I am feeling that I'm on the way to that, I will, I'll excuse myself and I will go home.
Yeah, that's a great. Could we say skill? Because I interviewed a stylist, Susie Street, who works in the fashion industry, who likes to drink, and she says she gets smashed a lot of the time.
Well,
but she's still great at what she does, and she's known for doing good work. But she's totally opposite. She takes advantage of the free drinks.
yeah, that's the problem. Like when you've got
Yeah.
loads and loads of free drinks and about 3 canapes that you can have, that
Yeah.
tends to happen quite easily, I suppose.
Yeah, so your tolerance must be quite high.
Yeah, I think I've always been, I was never brought up in one of those households where like it was a sort of a dirty, alcohol was a dirty word. I was very much raised as it being like an enjoyable part of,
Socialise.
meals.
Yeah.
And that's really the only time I drink now, I've got to say. Like unless I'm going out to a bar.
Yeah.
But let's face it, like I'm very keen on food as well, so I pretty much take any excuse to order food. So if I'm in a bar, I probably will have food anyway.
Yeah.
Like a big pile of bread and oil or something like that. Big fan of eating.
Yeah, that's funny because today you've just had mushroom on bloody toast, man.
Yeah, I mean it was a poor day for me food wise.
Yeah. Why was it so busy today? Like, why is it so busy now for you?
The thing was, I mean, this is just a
Feb.
thing with my job is that because you're working online and you're working to very, very tight deadlines, and often you're trying to juggle you're trying to juggle your day's content, you're trying to juggle your content for the next week that you're having to line up and write at the same time. You're having to juggle commercial projects, and if I'm lucky enough to have an intern, I'm juggling what they're doing and what other departments are asking of me. It just gets to the point sometimes where I will have written a couple of stories in the morning, and I'll look at my watch and I'll program into the website, and I'll be like, it's 3:00.
Yeah.
And so I just won't have gone out to get lunch because I've just forgotten about it.
Yeah.
The only time I really sort of get better at that is if I bring my lunch in with me, then I'll remember to eat it. But if I've not brought it in with me anyway, I'll just end up not eating.
To eat. Yeah.
But then I'll go home and I'll completely binge. It's a really terrible diet, like doing that. I realise that. It's one of the things that I definitely need to fix in 2015. Whoops.
Have you just broken my mic? No, you're still recording.
I'm still online. Great. Okay.
You're still recording. Do you play? Okay, so you have a massive workload day to day. So your role then, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're the person at GQ Online that writes all of the articles, full stop.
No.
Okay.
So the structure of the team for online is we have 4 editors just for online.
Okay.
I am the featured editor, and currently the second longest member of the team. We have a picture editor who's responsible for sourcing, obviously, pictures and doing all the work that comes with coding them up and finding things from the archives from the magazine.
So do you give them the
site.
article and then they search for the imagery, or do you give them certain things
in a
to go and
nutshell,
find?
if we're doing stuff from the magazine, in a nutshell, yes. But it will come for, if I'm doing, say, a gallery of stylish men from the week, I will say, like, I need to find a picture of Eddie Redmayne at XX event. Can you find the best picture for me? And it'll be up to him to source it and to find them and to go take them through me and make sure they're the right ones. So he has kind of 2 roles there.
Okay.
So then there's us 2. Then we have a news editor, Conrad, who's the newest member of the team. And he's responsible for making sure that our pieces are hitting sort of trending topics, basically, so we can tap into what's happening across social media.
So did you interview him?
Oh, God, no. No, I'm not in charge of the site in any way, shape or form.
Okay, but I thought maybe your team or the people that work just underneath you'd play a part in recruiting those people.
No, that's from
a senior position.
Yeah, that's from Dylan, who's our editor. So basically, so we've got picture editor, fashion editor, news editor, and then features editor. There's a guy called Matt who's responsible for the comment, entertainment, and girls channels.
Oh, hello.
There you go. Something for everyone. And we are sort of on a kind of pretty much like a flat hierarchy.
Yeah.
We all have our own responsibilities, but we all work together as a team. And then Dylan is above us, Dylan Jones, as the editor of the magazine, and as a part of that, as editor of online content. So we all report to him separately.
Okay. How long have you been at GQ for, bro?
I have been there since September 2012. No,
Bloody.
September 2012. Yeah, when I left Mr. Porter.
You left Mr. Porter 2012. It's now
Yeah.
2015 because I should see you
Yeah.
rushing around LCM when Aaron was there.
Yeah. There you go.
Bloody hell.
It has gone by incredibly quickly. It feels very strange to have
Yeah.
been there for actually longer than I was at Mr. Porter now. Because it doesn't feel like I've been there longer than Mr. Porter.
Yeah.
And I think because the site has changed so much in that time, and because my role has changed quite a lot in that time as well,
Yeah.
that it's gone by incredibly quickly, and I'm still actually having quite a lot of fun at it, which is very pleasant.
Do you also done some work at Esquire, right? That was before you went to Mr. P.
Oh yes, we don't talk about that anymore. No, I worked at Esquire back in the day.
Yeah.
Esquire was very important to my career from the point of view that it gave me my first break in menswear fashion journalism, and was what persuaded me, my experience there, to go back to university and do my MA in journalism.
Okay. So what did you graduate in then?
Well, I
Did you go to
graduated. Yeah, so I graduated kind of twice. I did my first degree after school, which was American Studies at King's, and that was a 4-year course.
Yes, I remember hearing about this. Okay.
Because I had a year abroad in San Francisco, and then after that, because it was a humanities degree, and I very much enjoyed doing it. But as anyone that's done a humanities degree knows, it doesn't really like practically prepare you for anything.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of degrees that don't.
Exactly. It's not like
This is
medicine
excessively-
that actually you're like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor or lawyer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
American Studies, like, what are you going to be?
Why did you choose it?
Because I've always been sort of fascinated by America, and I think our generation grew up in an age where America was so influential in popular culture, that has led to the society we live in now, which is still very influenced by American culture. But I think especially in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, like all the stuff I watched was American.
Yeah.
All the music I listened to was generally American. And then when I did a bit of American history at school, and I think it's really when I realised that what I'd done at school was pretty much only 20th century American history. And that's, I think, the only real part of American history that we hugely hear about here in the UK or study. I did about America in World War II, and I did about America post-World War II, like the Cold War and the Civil Rights Movement. But what I really kind of got interested in was what happened before that, which is why by the time I sort of specialised in my course towards the end of my time in my 4th year, my dissertation was about Native Americans and the reservation movement in the 1830s, which was an area that I'd never, I grew up, reading books about, and, having a fort that had cowboys and Indians in and stuff like that, but you don't really study Native Americans in any particularly, in any way in England, growing up in the school system that I did. And so that's what I became really interested in, was like the native people of America, and especially in the 1800s, because that was a very sort of changing time, when America was sort of expanding westward, and obviously the colonial powers kind of treated Native Americans incredibly poorly. Obviously, that's a given, but also were trying to sort of balance that with their own views of how they were a sort of a people that should be preserved, kind of like in a museum. So that's why they came up with we'll gather up everybody from the native populations of America and whack them in one state together, which was kind of their attitude in the 1830s, which has led to kind of the reservation movement of today, and why reservations kind of exist. But also, I had the chance. I knew I had the chance of going for a year abroad in America, and that was obviously a massive draw, because I've always loved America, and always, my parents travelled a lot when I was a kid. Yeah. And America was always like my favourite place to go.
What do they do, or what did they do?
My parents.
At the time of when they were travelling around.
my dad worked in finance, worked in the city, and he travelled a lot for his job. So when I was, pretty much when I was born, my dad was transferred to Tokyo and lived in Tokyo for 2 years, and my mum and I went to join him over there. Of course, unfortunately, I don't remember any of that because I was 0 to 2, so sucks. I went to Tokyo Disneyland, apparently. I don't remember that, which is a shame because I love Disneyland.
Bad,
yeah. And after that, my dad worked in... he went to work in Indonesia for a while. He went to work in Hong Kong, and when I was about 7, he went to work in Munich, which I went to visit him. So I was in my teens by the time he worked in Munich. And travelled all over the place. And then my mum was also working in banking when my parents were sort of first going out. She worked at a bank on Fleet Street called Hawes, which is kind of an unfortunate name.
Yeah.
But an incredibly exclusive bank, one that I wish I had an account at. And then when I came along, she took some time out to sort of raise me, and then retrained when I was in my very early teens, I think about 12 or 13. She retrained as a reception class teacher, and that's what she's still doing now. So at the first school that I ever went to in a village called Caldecott in Bedfordshire.
Okay, so when did this interest in fashion kick in? You do have an interest in fashion, don't you?
Can you imagine?
Mate,
oh God, I'm having some existential crisis.
I've met a lot of people that are doing things that they don't necessarily like, and you don't seem like one of them at all. So obviously that's the reason I'm here speaking to you. But
I've been asked this question quite a few times before. I had to do a talk at the Condé Nast College about my career quite recently. Well, a few months ago at the end of last year, and I don't suppose I know really what caused it. I think I grew up in a household where my mum was always very interested in not just clothes, which I remember going to clothes shops with my mum when I was absolutely
being dragged
tiny.
To clothes shops.
God, no, I loved it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I absolutely loved going to clothes shops. And I loved... In fact, this is still very the same today. I do obviously love buying clothes for myself, but I love buying clothes for other people. Okay. And I did that with my mum. Like, I loved picking out clothes for her. To an extent? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that was a factor, but also my mum just was obsessed with magazines. I've never met a woman that's so obsessed with magazines as my mum.
Just littered with
magazines.
House fashion magazines.
Packed. Yeah, well, fashion and like interiors magazines and travel magazines. So my mum had those all over the place. Yeah. So you'd have, like, when I was growing up, I remember there being like copies of, Vogue and Marie Claire and House and Garden, like all over, and Condé Nast Traveller as well. Tons of magazines like that. And so I grew up like reading those and thinking that magazines were kind of just the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And then obviously you grow up somewhere like Bedford, which I don't know if you've been, because you've grown up in a very
through it.
It's that kind of place.
In a vehicle, yeah.
It's exactly that kind of place.
Okay.
Much as it's a lovely town, and it's very pretty. It has a lovely waterfront. It's not a huge cosmopolitan metropolis. Growing up, it had very few shops outside of your regular shops that you'd have on any old high street.
Oh, okay.
I remember it being quite exciting when the River Island opened. Like, that was a big deal in Bedford when River Island opened. Yeah. And I did live in there as a kid. I freaking loved River Island. In fact, I still do love River Island. Sorry?
Window shopping for the most part.
No, buying stuff. Because by that point, I had like pocket money. I could go in and buy like some.
How much pocket money did you get a week? We got £2.50. Me and Aaron.
See, it depends when your pocket money kicked in. My pocket money would have kicked in my teens. I didn't get pocket money.
16. Ours did.
You got £2.50 at 16
a week.
Wow. See, I got I think £50 a month.
Mate, you were balling.
Yeah. Which I was very lucky about, I suppose.
You spent it all in River Island.
Pretty much. Or when the H&M opened in Northampton. That was pretty exciting. H&M opened in Northampton. That was the closest one to us.
How far away from Bedford was that? Or is that?
It's about a 40-minute drive. But my grandparents lived there, so I would always and my grandparents would then buy me like H&M vouchers for Christmas.
Mate, that must have been
That's pretty good. But that was, of course, in the days before I could drive.
Yeah.
So when you grow up somewhere in Bedford that doesn't really have a lot of choice like that, you use magazines to sort of keep up with what's happening.
Yeah.
And you sort of, again, and also, like, I sort of started to see London as, A, where magazines are from, but B, London must be really cool because that's where magazines are from.
Yeah. Were you seduced by what the magazines were pushing out in terms of lifestyle, imagery?
Oh, God, no. I couldn't afford anything that was in them. Are you kidding me? Like, you know...
Yeah, but the idea of wanting that lifestyle.
Oh,
maybe,
but yeah,
or being part of
but
it.
also just being wanting to recreate that stuff and being sort of inspired by what you saw on the pages. You know, I've read GQ since I was like 15. Like it's I was a big fan of magazines, and that's one of the most bizarre things I still find about my job. And the reason I love it so much is because I grew up reading GQ, and it still sort of blows my mind when I go there. And, you know, obviously, a job is a job is a job. Every job has its frustrations.
Of course.
And every job, you sometimes come home and you're like, God, I had a boring day.
Yeah.
But there are some times where I'll be walking into work in the morning, and you go through those revolving doors at the front of Vogue House, and you'll be like,
yeah, baby,
damn, I
made it.
work for this magazine that I've read for
Well done,
15
man.
years.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
And was it ever a plan in your mind?
No, I had loads of career plans when I was a kid. I think magazines kind of won out in the end because I knew that that's what sort of suited me best. But like when I was a kid, I originally wanted to be a town planner. That was like
a town planner.
Yeah. If I couldn't be a Blue Peter presenter, which I wanted to be when I was like 5.
Yeah. What if they gave you the opportunity now to present on Blue Peter? I've got a hookup.
I probably wouldn't ditch my job but I'd do a special. I'd totally be up for doing a special.
Yeah.
I'd do it. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. I have a Blue Peter badge. I've been on Blue Peter before.
Have you?
So I'm kitted out.
What were you doing on Blue Peter, man?
My aunt, my mum's cousin, was a vision mixer on Blue Peter.
Yeah, she's still your
She's
aunt.
kind of like she's my first cousin. No, she's my first cousin.
Well,
she's my mum's cousin.
Okay. Everyone is auntie and uncle here in our house.
Yeah, well, it's just easier for me to say aunt, so I do.
Color. Okay.
But yeah,
cool.
She was a vision mixer on CBBC and on
a vision mixer.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those jobs that I don't know how many there are. I think they still exist now, but
Can I take a wild guess at what it is?
Okay, go on.
Is it? You can sip your cold coffee. Is it someone that mixes the graphics before, like the graphic stings before the show kicks in, like the rolling credits to an extent?
That and like transitions between shots.
Yeah.
But yeah, ding, ding, jackpot, effectively.
I get it. Okay.
So she did that on Blue Peter.
Yeah.
And so there was one Christmas where they had a Christmas special. They were having a carol section in it, kids singing carols, and they had a school going along to do it from London. But they also sent like a memo around going like, oh, if anyone that's working here has kids of the right age that want to come along and sing in the choir,
beautiful,
like do it.
Yeah.
And so my aunt was like, yeah, do you want to come along and sing on Blue Peter? I was like, hell yeah, of course I do.
Could you or can you sing?
I could then. I was in the choir at school then.
Yeah. It's before your voice broke.
Yeah, and I've done some singing since my voice broke, but I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's sort of karaoke level. I don't mind that. I love going to karaoke.
Okay.
But I would not say that I am, I'm not really the next.
Is this why you stay
X Factor
sober?
What? Because I sing if I'm not?
Yeah.
No, I sing all the time. But and I love it. Now, as I say, I love going to karaoke. I think it's hilarious. Yeah. And both my parents actually now sing in choirs as well. It's a weird it's become a weird
They both sing choirs now.
Yeah, they didn't when I was a kid.
Like songs
it's
of praise
absolutely
style.
bizarre. My parents both sing in the church choir in our local church. Yeah, but my mum also sings in the Bedford Rock Choir. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
I've seen my mum perform at the O2 in London.
No.
Yeah, and she's recorded at Abbey Road. So my mum is basically far cooler than me. Man, I'm never going to do that.
She's inspiration right there, man.
Yeah, she's doing well for herself.
Yeah, my mum doesn't sing. My dad can't dance. It's they're lovely people. I love them dearly. They're both downstairs. But yeah, in terms of musical talent,
I don't think either of my parents can dance.
Considerably less than none. You can't dance.
No, I don't think either of my parents. I certainly can't dance. I don't think my parents can.
You're certainly can't dance. So you don't get down on a good foot at any of the Fashion Week parties, none of that stuff. That's why you go home early. That's another reason why you
I
go
don't
home
mind
early.
a shuffle around I don't
Yeah.
mind a shuffle around the dance floor, but I wouldn't ever say that I'm a dancer.
Okay.
Have you seen all those clips today from the Super Bowl of the left shark?
Yeah.
That's me dancing.
That's you, really.
Like just looking completely
What do you think
out of
happened to that
place.
guy, man?
He is the most famous person on the planet, so good for him.
Yeah, marketing, man.
Yeah.
Katy
Although it's
Katy
not the
Perry's
most
marketing
best, it's not the best professional advert, is it?
No, but
Can't
at the end-
dance.
at the end of the day, it got eyeballs onto Katy Perry, right?
I think there would have been eyeballs on Katy Perry anyway.
Yes,
I think
this is true.
it's cool, but if
Yeah.
you're a dancer and you can't dance,
Yeah,
you've kind of got rid of your USP there, haven't you?
yeah.
Maybe it's another career.
Thank God no one saw who it was, though. He was dressed as a shark. He could do.
Yeah,
what he
that's
wants.
at least it's
Yeah. That's the only saving grace.
the only
right?
saving grace. I'm sure everyone in the industry now knows who he is though,
Yeah.
because he's probably like
Yeah.
before he's probably like, yeah, I'm gonna go and
deny it, man.
I'm gonna be the left shark on the side of Katy Perry. Now,
the left
now all his
shark.
friends are like, oh no,
Yeah, you
Mate.
fucked up, man.
whoops.
Damn. All right, so taking it back to your story. So River Island kicked in. You were saying about you had an interest in the lifestyle in the fashion industry, but
Yeah.
then you went off to study American studies.
Yeah.
Then you graduated with American studies in
Yeah.
your backpack. Now, why, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, so I
Yeah.
think there was a change that sort of occurred while I was at university, and that was, I suppose, I didn't really realise, as kind of stupid as this sounds, that you could sort of make a career out of writing. It's not one of those ones that you're really brought up in schools to sort of consider.
Yeah. Because they're all struggling. It's really hard to get.
Because it's like
work,
they sort of
it's-
want you to be a doctor or an accountant at
Yes.
school.
Were
Like
you-
all
were your
these sort of-
parents were your parents like that? Were they pushing you in that direction?
No, I had very my parents were very sort of easygoing and very much encouraged me to do kind of what I wanted.
Yeah. That's
They
great,
could have
man.
quite easily pushed me into being, I don't know, an accountant, but they didn't,
Okay.
or a doctor. So basically, while I was when I went to America, I sort of had, because the visa I was on meant that I couldn't work. During my time in my first and second years of uni at King's, because it's obviously quite expensive to live in London as a student, I worked at Thomas Pink on Sloane Street
Okay.
as like a shop boy selling shirts.
Yeah.
But when I went on this
How old
visa,
were you then? Sorry.
that was what, when I was 18 to
Okay.
20.
That was your first fashion retail stint.
Exactly.
Ah.
So I did that. Then I moved. Then I went to America, and the visa I was on, you couldn't work. You couldn't bring in money.
Okay. Legally.
Sorry,
Legally.
legally.
There's always ways.
I
baby.
didn't either.
Yeah. Okay.
Either way.
Okay.
But that meant that for the first time, like I had kind of proper spare time.
Yeah.
And also the university system in America is structured in the way that you can kind of do the work in a lot more. It's kind of more flexible the time you can do your work in. So anyway, so one of the things I did there was I started getting involved with the Daily Cal, which is the university newspaper at Berkeley. And there I started writing like entertainment stuff, so film reviews. And
Did you ask if you can write, if you can contribute, or was there a
you
position
have to
going that
you have to
applied
apply,
for?
and then you get like given stuff to write.
Okay, so
basically.
you just thought, just on a whim, writing seems interesting. Let me do
Yeah,
something.
exactly. I was doing so much writing. I was like, I kind of would like to be in this sort of career, like be a reviewer. That'd be fun. Because I think that a lot of people go into journalism thinking they'd like to be like a critic.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, let's give it a go. Like they
Just
want
to give your
people to
opinion
write.
and stuff.
Yeah. So I wrote a few things there, and then when I got back to London, I think because I've been always interested in clothes and fashion and things like that, I thought, well, actually, I don't want to write film reviews and things. Why don't I try writing some fashion stuff instead? And at that stage, I started writing for I started writing for the London Student, which was the University of London newspaper, and basically got to the point where I was writing and sort of, I don't know what the word really is. It's a kind of de facto menswear writer. So I was kind of like the guy that wrote about men's style at London Student.
Was that a position going, or did you say that's what I want to write about?
No, it was just like I asked whether I could contribute to the fashion section, and of course, because I'm a guy, I wrote about menswear really.
Yeah.
And that kind of became the thing. Like eventually, I was writing one thing a month for the issue, and that kind of built up my beginnings of my portfolio. And that was the thing that then made me think, well, actually, people seem to like reading my stuff. I mean, I look back on it now, it's awful. People
But we're
seem
our
to
worst
like...
critics, aren't we? Always.
Well, yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
But it was awful. And then I thought, well, I'm graduating this year. I want to do something in the fashion industry because I find it so incredibly interesting. I've got to work out what section of the fashion industry I go into. Obviously, journalism is the ideal, but there were loads of things, like I said. So, like, I did loads of different sort of careers at that time. So I tried to do some. I applied for a few jobs in advertising. So, like account director jobs. So, like, I applied to Ogilvy. I tried doing financial PR, which was not for me. Although you did get paid at that, which was a bonus.
I hope so.
Got paid to be an intern.
Yeah.
That's great. And then I tried some. I did an internship at the food standards agency in the marketing department, which was actually quite good fun.
And you found out about these opportunities yourself by just checking online, asking people? Because I'm always interested in how people found out about.
I can't remember how on earth I found out about Marks and Spencer now, because Marks and Spencer was I did a stint on the PR desk there in women's wearing lingerie PR, which was actually quite good fun.
I can imagine.
And they were actually a very, very nice team, and their HQ is amazing. If you ever get a chance to go to, it's Paddington Basin.
Okay.
Their HQ is, they have like pretty much the best staff canteen I've ever seen. It was insane. Yeah. And you get like I think I got like £5 a day expenses. So they just automatically go onto the staff canteen because it's so heavily subsidised. I was buying like lunch and dinner and taking dinner home with me, which is good for someone that's not earning any money. So I did a few PR ones as well. Like I was working by this time again at Thomas Pink, and I was doing 3 days a week in the shop and 2 days a week in the PR department there.
Yeah, but that wasn't paid, that internship, was it?
The days I was interning weren't, so I was taking like a cut in pay to do that. And then towards the end of it, I went with one of my colleagues to an event at Liberty, which was like a launch of their new season, like a reader event. And that was hosted by Lisa Armstrong, who at that time was the fashion editor of Sunday Times Style. And is now, she was editor of the Times fashion section. And she's now at the Telegraph as the fashion editor. Anyway, so she was hosting it, and at the end of it I thought, well, I'm not really going to get many more chances to be in the same room as Lisa Armstrong, and I really want to have a go in fashion, so I'm going to go and talk to her. So I went up to her.
She just walked straight up to her.
Exactly. And I said, like, I really want to get into fashion. Do you happen to know whether you could give me like a week's work experience at the Times?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, we'll get it set up. And so I emailed.
She said that there and then?
Yeah.
Without knowing who you are, what you'd done?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
She actually said, email my
assistant.
My assistant and we'll sort it out. She didn't say like, yes. She was like, I'm sure we could sort something out or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I think I sent through a few sample things to her assistant, and yeah, I was in for a week. The problem being that when I got there, she was on holiday for the week that I was there.
Yeah, she'd left.
So I didn't get to see it. She was like, oh God, he's coming in, leave.
Yeah.
And they didn't have, like, writing-wise, they didn't have a huge amount for me to do. It was mainly sort of research, which often you find as an intern. Like, you end up doing transcriptions or research, and you don't really get any named stuff. So it was very useful experience, but because there wasn't a huge amount for me to do, I ended up chatting to the guy that was on the desk opposite me, who was working at T2. And it's just so happened...
T2 magazine?
T2 is, like, one of the supplement sections in the Times.
Okay. Yes.
So I got chatting to him, and it turned out that he was very friendly with the person that was the editorial assistant at that time on Esquire, and he'd come from Esquire himself to head up T2.
Okay.
So then
headhunted?
I haven't got a clue.
Okay.
I think he probably left. I haven't got a clue. So then I ended up at Esquire because I got an internship there, and then off the back of Esquire, they then, like Dan Davies, who was at the time the deputy editor of Esquire, after I'd done my internship there, called like 8 of us together and we all went for a pizza, like when it used to be a pizza place where Byron is now in Soho, on that sort of corner on Beak Street. And he was like, you this is again going to sound really up myself when I say this, and I don't mean it to sound like that. He was like, you were the sort of 8 people that were really impressive over the last year, internship wise.
Well done, man.
Good for
Stop
me.
being up yourself. Well done, man.
It was incredibly flattering.
Yeah.
And he said, we're launching a new section in the magazine, and we want to use it as a testing ground for like younger writers.
Yeah.
Which was the now defunct manual section that used to be at the middle of Esquire under Jeremy Langmead's tenure there.
So you contributed to that?
Exactly.
For how long?
Those were
really
over a
good,
year.
Man.
It was over a year.
Yeah.
We did that. And it was the first gig that I'd ever got that was paid journalism, so it was fantastic.
Yeah, you must have been over the moon right there.
It was great.
And that was full time now?
That wasn't full time. So that was contributing. You contribute like 10 things a month.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 things every 2 months. Yeah. I think it was. Because it was. I remember thinking at the time like, oh god, that's actually quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
So 10 things every 2 months, I'd say. And that's when I was like, okay, well, I should probably go back and do journalism because that's really what I want to get into.
That's when you realise, I like this, I want to take it seriously, I can make a career out of this.
Yeah, and that's when I went back to City.
To study journalism for what? Was that 3 years?
Magazine journalism for 1 year, masters.
MA.
Yeah.
Nice. And may I ask, while this is rolling, how you done? I mean, I've just done that. I've just asked you.
I don't remember the mark that I got for my course, if that's what you're saying.
You're joking. You don't remember
No,
when
I
you
actually
got
don't.
MA?
I actually don't. Because I know I passed, obviously.
Yeah.
I think maybe I got a merit. I don't know.
Okay, that's great.
I did.
You're not great at bigging yourself up, are you?
No. No. I mean,
How
if
do
you want
you
me
do
to,
an
I got a
interview?
first for my American Studies degree, so there you go. And I was on the Dean's Honours list at Berkeley for being in the top 4% of the school. There you go.
There you go. Okay, there we go. We got something out of you.
Yeah,
How do you do in interviews, man? When someone says sell themselves, obviously they can check out your archive of work and kind of follow up on your story, which sells you well. But do you ever sit there and say, "I'm quite good at what I do because of this"?
Not really. I feel that if you start to sort of go in with that, if you start to go in with that sort of attitude, I feel like you don't really push yourself to do better.
You get comfortable.
Yeah, and whenever I've ever felt comfortable at something, something's gone wrong. And so I'm now at a position where I never feel comfortable, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which has its pros and its cons.
Yeah. A lot of people I'm speaking to that are continuously climbing share the same attitude. It's very interesting.
I think you have to.
Yeah. Would you say you're ambitious?
Very.
Okay.
Shockingly so, I would say. I sort of shock myself at... It's not necessarily ambitious, though. I mean, I feel that ambitious tends to have connotations of sort of doing anything to get where you want to be. And that's never really been my attitude to things. I very much enjoy my job, and I very much hope that I can stay in it and grow it. That is what I would like to do.
So grow the work, grow the output, as opposed to grow yourself.
No, grow myself and grow the output. But my caveat to that being that what I want to do is I can see that there is great potential in what I'm doing, and it's about like producing the best stuff that I can.
Yeah.
For hopefully the future of my role, and sort of I can see the direction that publishing's going in, and
okay.
I'm back. Sorry.
The mic's back. But the mic's gonna try to go left now. Oh, no,
I'll hold it like I'm a recording artist.
I believe in you, man. As a recording artist, more than a journalist.
Terrible. You don't want to hear me sing.
We can rap if you want to.
No.
Okay.
But I want to do so much more stuff. And it's not necessarily like, God, I want to be, editor of XXX magazine by the time I'm 40.
Yeah.
It's like I want to sort of be I just want to be like respective of what I'm doing and be putting stuff out there that people find useful.
Useful is
because
which the manual was very.
Yeah, I mean that's
what
kind
you're
of
doing now is what you're doing now is very useful. It's very helpful. You shed a lot of light on other people doing creative things within fashion and style.
Well, I mean that's just the type of journalism that I've always responded to is, the type of fashion journalism, should I say, that I've always responded to is stuff that's basically very practical. That's what I like.
Yeah, you're presenting some videos now.
Yeah, that's been a baptism by fire. It's been quite funny. I've really enjoyed it though. I love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do more video stuff.
Camera. You're obviously not scared of a microphone.
I am
while rapping and stuff.
I'm sort of.
I want to sort that out.
All right.
You're sorted, I believe.
Thanks.
Cool.
Sorted.
Go. Yeah.
No, I mean, to camera stuff has never hugely fazed me.
Yeah.
I think it's more from the point of view that maybe I would like to look a bit different on camera. So just like,
okay,
kind of turn up looking like Eddie Redmayne. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But that's never going to happen.
There's only so much we can do in post, man.
Yeah. Well, it's okay with my voice. Face for radio, Nick CARVELL.
You sound great, bro.
That's the main thing. But no, that's. I think when I was at school, I did a lot of public speaking. I was kind of one of those geeks at school, basically. And I think that sort of prepared me. And I did a lot of theatre as well at school, and I did a lot of and a lot of singing.
Yeah.
So I guess I've always my mum is always petrified of this stuff. Like, she's in a choir now.
Yeah.
But
she still has stage fright.
She has stage fright, and she doesn't want to be like. I don't want to be the centre of attention, but I don't mind doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
I quite like it.
Yeah.
Not in a sort of like the spotlight's on me way, but it doesn't faze me doing stuff like this because I've done things like debating where you have to sort of think on your toes.
Yeah.
And theatre where you have to think on your toes. So, like, you've memorised all your lines, but the amount of things that go wrong in a production. And I'm not even like, I'm not talking big productions. I'm talking like school productions where like pieces of set fall on you and things.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to sort of think about like, oh God, how am I going to bring this into the scene and make it seem good? So yeah, I guess I'm quite cautious
of
when I'm doing things like this.
Okay.
In a way, like I'm still sort of thinking about it in my head. I'm aware that I'm talking to you.
Yeah. And you're aware that people are listening.
Hopefully.
Yeah. In theory, like I said, my mum listens. To
At least there'll be one person. My mum will probably listen to it as well.
I don't think
she'll
sit through 43 minutes of you and I though. My mum.
Well, how insulting.
No, because of me mainly.
She will now. They've got a shout out like 45 minutes in. She'll at least listen to that.
Yeah. We'll let her know.
Sensible move.
Yeah, man. Because in regard to you being ambitious, I remember Aaron telling me, and I don't know if you heard this, if this came back to you. Oh, God,
what's Aaron told me?
That a senior member of Mr. Porter made a comment about you, saying... Go on.
No, I'm waiting
You're
for you.
waiting for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Saying that, something along these lines, Nick's going to be interviewing us one day.
Well, I never heard that. So...
Okay, so someone did say that. Someone senior at Mr. P did say that. It may have been in jest, but as you know, a lot of truth is delivered in jest. And and then after I heard about that comment, that's when I learned that you then left Mr. P and became the online fashion editor at GQ. So it kind of adds up.
Well... I haven't interviewed any of them yet, although I did have a really...
As in job interview, you know. Not
can you
about
imagine?
What they're doing. No, I can imagine that. Yeah, that'll be fun.
So
you
what do you think? So I remember you from Mr. Porter. I had a really strange and admittedly quite nice moment actually at this series of fashion weeks just gone, where I've been at GQ now for 2.5 years. And I'm in a position with my role where some brands, it's very interesting when you get seated at the shows, because I'm sure everyone pretty much knows this, but it's obviously quite political where you're seated at a show.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting seeing where certain brands place me.
Okay.
Specific, but I always pay attention to it because it shows like some brands are far more turned on to what an online editor does than others.
Yeah.
For example, for things like, you know, if I do a lot of the Instagramming, or in fact, I do most of the Instagramming from the fashion weeks for GQ.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see like some brands will put you in a better seat because they know that you're doing the Instagramming.
Yeah.
So they know they want a good picture.
Yeah.
Where some brands like will give you a standing ticket because they'll say like, oh, online he's not really senior enough to be here.
Okay.
Standing. Not that I'm necessarily complaining about that, because sometimes a standing ticket's actually better.
Yeah, but it's just interesting to understand.
But it's interesting seeing
work.
their mentality behind.
Yeah.
But I was incredibly lucky this time because, you know, I know a lot of the guys that look after the brands in the UK, and so at London I'm incredibly lucky to get some front row seats to some shows of brands that I'm really big fans of, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But this season I got my first front row in Paris.
Oh, well done.
Which
man.
I've never had before. Like, actually,
Well
not a front
How did it
row that
feel?
I've just gone and sat on and been like, no, I'm here.
Yeah.
Actually, one where it's like literally row A on my ticket,
Was
which
the
is
majority of those Instagram photos selfies?
no. I don't usually. I'm not a big selfie person. If you've ever been on my like Instagram, I think I've taken approximately maybe one of just me. Like with other people,
But I
fine.
haven't even seen that one.
Oh, that one was only because I was in Australia over Christmas and I was in a pool on Christmas Day, and I was like,
Mate, I saw
that. But I was like, I'm never going
Was
to do
it one
this
of
again.
those infinity pools?
No, it
Was
wasn't. It was just like taken from this angle, so it just looked
Okay.
like water all around me.
No, it was Christmas Day, wasn't it?
Exactly. And I was like, it's Christmas Day, I'm in a pool, I'm taking a photo because I'm never doing this in the future.
Yeah.
But I don't take
Gangster moves.
the only sort of quote unquote selfies that I take are because like I'm very much of the opinion that I am not a fashion model. I realise that.
Okay.
Very few people actually want to see like pictures of me, probably. But I do quite like taking photos from like the chest down of like shoes and things. Because I find those I like wearing the stuff, and I find that people seem to like it on my Instagram, so I take those. But I don't really take quote unquote selfies of just my face. So it has to have like a sort of fashiony element to it.
Yeah, well, the people that are following you as well know that you're big into fashion and style and probably are themselves, so that would make sense.
Yeah, and I feel people do like to see fashiony stuff on a fashion editor's Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'm not the kind of
sense,
person that would take loads and loads of photos. So like, for example, the only time that you will see really photos of me are of if I've happened to have been like snapped at Fashion Week by a street style photographer.
Yeah.
And generally if they come my way, I'll put those on because not only to give the photographer a shout out, because obviously like it's very kind of them to take a photo of me, but also I'm sort of a bit bowled over that a fashion like a street style photographer is taking a photo of me. Yeah. Like, who am I? You know, they're taking photos of like Nick Worcester and Bruce Pask, who are both amazingly dressed guys, or you know.
But you don't dress badly, Nick.
I just dress kind of how I want to, and I suppose if a street style photographer finds that entertaining, then that's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, real talk. But at the same time, maybe I'm sure they know who you are, so it's always nice to stay connected to the people that are doing some big stuff, right?
I guess this all feeds back to the fact that I sort of, you know, I very much enjoy my job, and I sort of still find it mind blowing that I do it. I think that's kind of what even that comes from. It's like, hey. Yeah. Someone's like, A, isn't it crazy? I'm in Paris at the shows. Yeah. B, someone's taking a photo of me. Isn't that kind of mental? Yeah. That's kind of my my attitude to these things.
Your Instagram is, I like it because you're one of the very few people I know or that I've been aware of on Instagram that are able to post photos of themselves without seeming narcissistic. I don't know whether this is just you're just really smooth at doing it. I don't know, or this is really true. But you do it so bloody well. I could never point a finger and say, "Oh, look at him. He's just trying to post a photo of him against a lamppost, pretending to be in a phone that's got no battery." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's the thing is, like, there are plenty of people that I like if they post like photos themselves, I absolutely love it. Yeah. I'm trying to think of people on top of my head now. Yeah, you don't need to name anyone, but I get what you're saying. I was just thinking of like getting my Instagram out and saying some people. Of course, I love looking at Aaron. I didn't see enough of him working at Mr. Porter for 2 years. No, I do actually. I love the way Aaron dresses, and I love the fact that he had that grey streak put in his hair. I thought that was great.
Have you seen what he's done now?
No, has he dyed it blonde?
No, mate, no. It's gone back to black. Back to black. But out of boredom, sheer boredom, last week, he shaved off his beard. He took everything off clean. He looked in the mirror and he was like, "This is terrible." What? So he's been trying to speed up the growth by I don't know. Just hope.
Eyeshadow?
Just
No.
hope, eyeshadow and prayers.
Drawing on a beard.
Yeah, it was funny. It was just funny.
I did the same thing last week. I shaved all my beard off, so that's why I'm currently looking like it's actually coming back now.
Yeah, your stubble grows quick.
But I basically this time at Fashion Week I forgot my razor, and you go away for like 2 weeks, so I didn't get a chance to shave. So I just thought, oh, well, I'm gonna get a beard now, so I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
So it does. I feel like my face doesn't have any edges when I don't have a beard, though. It gives you like sort of stubble gives you a bit more definition. Yeah.
It defines the symmetry in your face.
And I'm pale as well, so I just feel a bit like a melted brie.
No, you're not that pale. I've met a lot paler.
Yeah.
People that blend into that wall behind you.
It's tinted moisturiser mostly, and residual tan from Australia, but not much of one.
Yeah, and the top of your ears are slightly red.
That's because I'm nervous talking to you.
Yeah, the window's above you and it's very cold outside. You don't get nervous talking to anyone, do you? You've interviewed and been around celebs.
Of course I get nervous talking to people. Maybe I hide it well.
Yeah, you hide it well. That's probably what it is.
I'm more likely to get nervous and start really like getting kind of fangirly over people. That's more of the problem. If I've got nervous with loads of people. I got nervous when I interviewed. I interviewed one of my first big interviews at GQ with Jake Gyllenhaal. That was pretty nerve-wracking. Like seeing someone that's still the most bizarre thing about my career. You see these people on screens, and all of a sudden you're in the same room with them. Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre. They're like, or like a PR sitting in the corner, like going, "No, you can't say that. Yeah. We can't ask that." He doesn't want to talk about that. Yeah. Admittedly, Jake Gyllenhaal's person didn't do that. I hasten to add. But it's they're suddenly like people. Yeah, because you're there with them. I've got very nervous when I get nervous when I interview designers that I really, really love. Yeah. So I get, because I just don't want to make a fool out of myself. You know, you speak to someone that you think is really, really cool, like Alexandre Mathieusi from Ami, or Pierre from Officine Générale, or something like that, or Riccardo Tisci, who I got to interview for when he was doing his really Nike RTs.
Yeah. Your accents are really good.
I'm dead French. It's not. My French is terrible. But I get very nervous speaking to them, because you want to, like, not only do I want to seem cool to them as someone that doesn't think of themselves as particularly cool in any way, shape or form, but also I feel a lot of pressure to actually, get an interview that actually people are going to read. Okay. Because, online in a way that has never been considered before with something like print, is that not only do you have to do interviews to tick, that tick boxes, but you can't do interviews that tick boxes. You need to have stuff that traffics. There's no point doing something that's not going to get any traffic, because you've worked your ass off for it and no one reads it. So you have to have stuff that has a hook to it. Yeah. Do you have I know you need to go soon.
Do you have numbers to hit?
Of course. Yeah, we have traffic targets.
How do you make sure you hit those numbers? When you're going in for an interview or thinking of content for next month, how do you know this is going to bring in the readers?
Well, short answer is you don't. You just have to kind of trust your intuition of what you think people might be interested in. I mean, I've pushed stuff to the site before that hasn't trafficked. Yeah. But alternatively...
Do you get bollocked for that?
Not really, because you make it up elsewhere. I suppose the beauty is that online, because you have an unlimited amount of space to fill, if something hasn't trafficked particularly well, then you make it up with something else that you know will. Yeah. But alternatively, I've done things on the site that have trafficked insanely well, and I haven't really been prepared for them. The most recent example of that is when I did a piece last week about Dennis Wise's new haircut that was trending on that people were talking about all over Twitter when he turned up with this sort of quite.
You didn't predict that would happen.
Well, I sort of thought like this will be a fun thing to talk about, because people are talking about it on Twitter and people have found it quite hilarious. Yeah. But I didn't realise it would go so well as it did. I mean, it was like the third biggest story that we had on the site last week. It's one of those things. Yeah. You don't really know how it's going to connect with the audience. Okay. But you sort of have an inkling, and then it's a nice surprise when it really does sort of exceed your expectations, which is like that did.
Does anyone proof your ideas? Or do you have license to do what the hell you want?
Not really. As I say, like online, we very much work as a team. So like even though we have our specialisms, we have meetings where we run our ideas past each other, and then they get tweaked. Yeah. So like sometimes ideas will be born for my section from working with Conrad and Matt. So for example, we're doing something for the watch section quite soon that was born by them. Or alternatively, I will kickstart an idea that then Matt goes and does. So we're doing things for We're doing something for Valentine's Day that he said like, we're doing this sort of we're doing this angle to a guide, and I said, well, if you do it in this way, maybe that would be a cool way of doing it.
Okay.
And then that's the one that's the angle that they're going with now.
Nice.
So it's like we all riff off each other. But I also consult with Robert Johnston, the style director of GQ, on things as well. Okay. So, but that's from a point of view of like making sure that I'm covering the right people and making sure that we're doing stuff that helps what they're supporting in the magazine.
Okay. Nice, man. I've learned quite a lot about you today, bro.
Yeah?
Intricacies, yeah. Is all your life, it's like 90% of your life work orientated?
I suppose fashion is one of those sort of interesting careers where you do find that you do it sort of 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Not
dressing yourself, but like, you know, you go to work and you start work with like, you know, let's say a breakfast with somebody to find out what's happening at, you know, XXX brand and what we can do. And then you go into work and you write about fashion all day. And then after work, you go to an event, you go to a dinner, or you go to a launch or something like that. So yeah, I guess it does sort of turn into a bit of a lifestyle more than a job.
Yeah. And weekends?
But yeah, weekends I just kind of enjoy by by doing stuff that's completely different.
Yeah. But are you still plugged in socially to what's going on?
Of course, I'm still on Instagram the whole time. You know, still looking at stuff.
Don't you ever just want to switch off from the whole world? Fashion or like work?
Yeah,
world.
I mean, of course, sometimes you do, but I think it's just important. It's important to. I don't want to become. It goes without saying that I absolutely love my job, and I would not want to be in any other job. But it does come to the point where you have to still cultivate interests outside of that.
Yeah, no, I just wonder
if only
you have
like
time to do that.
Oh god, yeah. There's always time to watch like something on TV or
like Cucumber,
or which I haven't watched. You can't ask me about that.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
No.
Oh, okay, because
that's what I said.
Tweeted about it. Oh, you liked it?
Did I? No, we wrote something about the site for it, and I retweeted somebody.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. No,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
because I think it was it the guy? It's the guy at Shortlist. It's Ben at Shortlist who tweeted saying something like, "Watch," because he'd reviewed it and he was like, "Watch Cucumber tonight because it's not where gay people are like sassy best friends or something," which is like gay representation. But if you want to talk about gay programming, I've watched Looking. So there you go.
I don't even know what Looking is.
Looking's an HBO show about like 3 gay guys living in San Francisco, which obviously like appeals to me because it's like loads of shots of San Francisco, and I love any shots because it makes me really miss San Francisco. So I like that, seeing them walking around and looking at the Trans America building and
nostalgic for you.
Exactly. It's actually a good show. It was quite slow to start last season. The new season started now, so I'm going to watch that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, before I let you go, Nick.
Before you let me go.
I stressed the word.
In prison. To be fair, I am actually imprisoned up here.
Yeah, you are actually imprisoned.
Yeah.
I haven't locked the attic door.
It does actually have a lock on it as well.
It does.
What the hell happens up here, Reuben?
No comment.
Okay, well,
I have been one to follow my dreams.
Maybe I'll find out later. I don't know.
Hey, it's a Tuesday today. It's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Nothing goes down in my life on a Tuesday. Man.
What?
Nothing.
That's a bit too much information.
Well, I don't.
You don't go down on a Tuesday.
Every other day. Is there, Nick Carvell, is there a master plan for your life?
I feel that's a rather broad question.
Sorry.
My default answer to that would be, and this is the funny thing, when I went on my interview at City, the question they are, and I was actually very lucky because last year, when they interview people for the MA, the magazine MA at City, they always ask an alumnus to sit in on the interviews. So you have one of the course leaders and an alumnus there, basically as like a tag team for the potential person that's coming in. And then they have, I think, 2 or 3 days of interviews. Yeah. And each day you sit in for a day while you go through like 6 people.
Wow. And
they have their entry interviews, which I had to do. So when I did that, and I was very lucky to be invited back last year. Anyway, when I was sitting on that, they ask you loads and loads of different questions. And one of the questions I was asked was, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Followed by, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
How long ago was this?
This was...
In terms of years?
This was 2010 when I went for my interview.
So exactly 5 years
Yeah.
ago.
And so, like, 5 years ago, I was like, in 5 years' time, I'd like to see myself as a section editor, a fashion section editor.
Okay.
Which I kind of did, which actually, I hadn't actually realised that until I just said that now. So that's encouraging. And then they said, well, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I said, well, I would love to be launching a British version of Details magazine for Condé Nast. Because I've always kind of loved Details magazine. It's not published anywhere else in the world except for America. And it's kind of like a sort of... so you've got GQ. So if you're thinking about it, Vogue is to GQ what Glamour magazine would be to Details. It's kind of the way that I think about it. It's a slightly more chatty, celebrity-focused kind of version, like a men's magazine.
Yep.
So that's what I said. But now I look back on what I've done so far, career-wise, and I've done 2 jobs that didn't really exist about 10 years ago. So online fashion editor might have just been coming into existence, kind of, 10 years ago, like 2005. But there certainly wouldn't have been many around. I think that would have been the era where you'd have maybe had, certainly at UK magazines, you'd have had like an online editor maybe who looked after everything. Yeah. But you wouldn't have had like a specific fashion editor. And certainly like Mr. Porter, social media writer as I was, that wouldn't have existed, certainly wouldn't have existed 10 years ago. That would barely have existed 5 years ago. Barely existed when I got my job. So it would be tough for me to say what the master plan is, because I have no idea what jobs are going to exist in hopefully 20 years' time when I'm still, fingers crossed, working in this industry. Yeah. We're at a time where journalism is changing, fashion publishing, should I say, is changing so quickly. And a lot of it being for the better, that, I feel that it's our generation's charge to really make sure, to really set how that's going to happen and what form that's going to take. So I hope that I'm still part of the game. That's my master plan. I just want to stay as part of the game and create content that
is valuable.
Is read and valuable. And certainly if that means that I'm staying at GQ, to make sure that GQ is still as relevant as it is now, relevant in 20 years' time as it is now. That's kind of the master plan at the moment.
Yeah. Sounds like
Let's see.
Yeah, best of luck with it, my friend.
Thanks. It's going to take some hard work, I think.
Yeah, no, I like your progression. Can we call it progression to on-cam stuff? It's good to see you on camera. Well,
one day I might do that with you then.
Huh?
One day I might do that with you. I haven't progressed to on camera with you yet. I'm just on radio.
Yeah, not even radio yet. Podcast, but now that might be fun. We'll see what happens. Although I don't really work that much in fashion and style now. I'm moving like all into entertainment. Yeah. So that might be fun.
And alcohol swanning around Venice.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That was good fun, Yeah. Have you been down? Were you down there at the same time as us?
No. Although I have been to Venice.
Did you see the video?
Of course I did.
Has the advert popped up while you were watching a YouTube video?
Yes.
Oh shit. That's nice. Progress, man. I'm feeling all starry, man. Okay, well, Nick, thank you.
Not at all.
Very much for sharing your Tuesday evening with me. Kind of locked up in this attic.
I wouldn't spend it any other way, Reuben.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. We might holler at you for voiceovers because you have a great voice for radio. Voice for radio. Voice.
Not a face for radio.
Voice for radio.
Thank you.
And I do think you're cool.
So does my mum. Yeah, so that's okay.
Because this is why I think you're cool, right?
Okay.
Because you are explicitly yourself. And that's it. That's all I want to say on that. From what I know of you, this could all be a whole load of bullshit. I don't know. You could be lying. This could be your representative, but
I'm not that good.
This is who you are.
I'm not that good an actor. Otherwise, I would probably be an actor now.
Yeah.
But thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
That's all right, man. I'll sort out your cab as well.
Thanks.
Thanks, mate.
So there you go, mate. So there you go. That was Nick CARVELL, mate. What do you know about Nick CARVELL, mate? So that's another British accent. Well, more Cockney, mate. You know what I mean? What do you know about Nick CARVELL, mate? He ain't your friend, mate. He's my mate. He's my mate.
He's Marmite, you know. What the hell am I talking about? So yeah, for those that thought that was Alan Partridge, you are incorrect. That is in fact Nick Carvell. On Twitter, he is at Nick Carvell, NickCarvell, and that's the same on Instagram. Again, that's at NickCarvell to follow Nick Carvell. If you did like the interview, if you're uplifted, if you're inspired, or if you learned something, please feel free to forward it onto a friend or maybe share it on your social platforms. No pressure. I'm just saying, I'm just kind of putting that out there. Now, to follow me, it's ReubenChristian.com. All my social handles are /Reuben Christian, REUBEN, Christian spelt like the religion, other than Instagram, which is Reuben Christian 1. And if you don't already know, to hear more of these interviews with other doers from a variety of disciplines, it's soundcloud.com/REUBEN-Christian. And you know what? This is the first time I put this shout out on the outro, but if anyone wants to get at me, hire me for hosting any shows, want me online, let me know. I'm always out there looking to interact, man, and looking for that stage, baby. Baby, I'm here. Hit me up. Thank you very much for listening, and tune in next week if I keep these coming out weekly. I'm doing well so far, man. You know what I mean, mate? You know what I mean, Harry? Find out what you're here to do and go and do that. Because before you know it, you're gonna be dead. Aren't you? And you know that I know that you know it's the truth. Come on, get up. Do you, please. Take it.